Hello, I'm DDL, and I'm coming to you to talk to you today about borderline personality disorder. I was going to do this whole entire series as far as doing the research on it today, but I started becoming so exhausted and overwhelmed with the amount of information that I was looking up and reading about that I had to actually lay down and physically take a nap. So I think I'm going to be doing this in little bits and pieces. So it'll be a series, like I said originally. It'll be a little bit at a time because it is very deep. It's a lot to take in, and I want you to be able to understand exactly how this operates, because I believe it operates on a daily basis in life, online, offline, everywhere, with various people and various situations. And you need to know what this looks like, how it happens, why it happens, how you can protect yourself, etc. So, without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. Let me just open up my little page here. So, let's talk first of all about, one second. Most of us know what borderline personality disorder is. I'm not going to give you the DSM, professional, whatever about it. I'm just going to be talking about behaviors. And I'm going to say interchangeably a person with BPD or the BPD person or the BPD, because it just is quicker to do it that way. So try not to get offended with how I phrase this, especially if you are somebody that is treated for BPD and you're doing well and you're dealing with whatever issues you have. That's a whole different ballgame. This is specifically about behaviors of an untreated person who has BPD. So first of all, an emotionally healthy person bases their feelings about things on facts. They don't conjure up what they want things to look like or how they want things to appear to have happened. A person with borderline personality disorder recreates a situation in their mind as if they believe it to be or have been, but not necessarily based on facts. They may state, for instance, we'll name just a random name, Fred is unfaithful, even if Fred had a legitimate reason for asking somebody some advice besides the person with BPD. Or they might say, you're trying to humiliate me and embarrass me, when someone asks the person with BPD an innocent question simply out of concern and care. In other words, there's a lot of suspicion in this personality disorder. People with BPD will often project. You've often heard me say, oh, they're projecting. Let's talk about what projection actually is. What does it mean? It means somebody blaming someone else, the person with BPD blaming someone else for certain actions or behaviors that they're doing or have done, because in the mind of the person with this disorder, they cannot possibly conceive of themselves doing something that could cause somebody harm and thus bring guilt upon themselves for having been, quote unquote, a bad girl or bad boy, which, if you remember from your research on BPD, if you've learned about it, it all begins in childhood for the most part, of being told you're a bad girl, you're a bad boy. That's one of the ways this develops, is a performance-based, driven type of mindset that we'll talk about that a little bit later, of how the person with borderline perceives themselves. This is the person with BPD's way of alleviating possible guilt that they actually need to be feeling for hurting other people. So in other words, a person that has harmed somebody in some way, maybe they've said something ugly to them, maybe they've done something awful to them, in order for them to cope with it and not have to own it, they will say somebody else did it or someone else is doing it. This alleviates them having to feel those hurt feelings and they have bad feeling towards themselves. In a way, the person with BPD is actually stating, it just cannot be my fault because doing such and such a behavior is ugly and mean and cruel, and I could not possibly be guilty of having done such a thing, because I'm not a mean, awful person like that. But actually the thing did get done. It's obvious. People are talking about it, and it was discussed, and they've proven that it was done. Therefore, somebody had to do it, so you're the one that did it, or he's the one that did it, or they're the one that did it. It's never the person with borderline personality disorder's fault, ever. It can't be. How could it be? Because they just could never. So, basically, they also tell themselves, if I really had done this awful thing that people are saying I did, that this person is telling me, you hurt me, or you did something that really caused me problems at work, or caused me problems in a relationship, if I actually did that as the borderline person, then you never would stay in a relationship with me. So it couldn't have been me that did it. But obviously it was done, so therefore so-and-so did it. They did it. He did it. She did it. It was somebody else. Because obviously you wouldn't stay with me if I really was guilty of having done this. This is their mind. This is what their mind tells them. Often somebody with borderline personality disorder will exhibit something called projective identification. This means the opposite. If you're accusing me of having done it, and I must have done it, obviously, if you're saying I did, well, then I'm going to actually do it now. Now, whether you did it or not the first time, that doesn't matter. At this point, because you accused me of it and you said I'm guilty of it, I'm going to do it. So there. How's that feel? Now you'll be sorry for having accused me. That's how they reason, or don't reason, however you want to put it. They think very differently than people that don't have the disorder. That is for real darn sure. They can read your mind. At least it seems like it. How does this work? Well, some people with the disorder are very sensitive to your voice and your body language. In fact, people with BPD can often pick up on your feelings before you even know you have those feelings. And they'll call you to task as soon as they notice any inconsistencies in what you say and do from time to time. That's why internet relationships with people with this disorder, untreated disorder, are not a good idea, because you will constantly find yourself tripping over your words, trying to defend yourself, trying to remember what you said last week or 2 days ago, because not everybody holds on to that stuff. Once it's out, you say it, you move on. But people with BPD hold on to everything. They probably take notes. I don't know if it's just a mental ability or if they have literal notebooks or video things that they saved. I don't know, but they definitely know you, sometimes better than you know yourself. And they will quickly learn your triggers and your vulnerabilities, and they will play on those as needed later to get what they want. In therapy, a person with BPD will often indicate to the therapist that they know exactly how that therapist is doing and what they're feeling. And it will become very eerily accurate at times, because they really do have this almost a second sense of knowing what your feelings are, even though you don't want anybody to know. They just do, and it's creepy. In my experience, this is one of the things that made it very draining for me to remain friends with people in my life who had the disorder. With such a person, it is best, if you are called out on something, to admit what is true, whatever part of yours is to own, and what you did, actually, in order to quench any brewing future conflicts. A lot of times people with BPD have said to me, are you just saying that and answering me that way so that you can shut me up so we don't have to talk about it? Or do you really feel that way? Do you really believe that? So you run into that a lot of times with them. So it's better just to, if you can, admit to whatever you did, say you're sorry, and be done with it, because they will call you to task on every little thing. So here's how they might be thinking from one moment to the other. And again, this is untreated BPD people, or people that aren't quite healed of the majority of the disorder and know how to cope and get along in society. Here's their belief system. I must always be loved by my family, friends, and those I look up to and admire, or else I am worthless, or I'm nothing. I must be totally successful in order to be worthy of love or good things in my life. Some people are perfect and other people are evil and deserve the bad things they have coming to them. The outer world and people in it are the reason I do the harmful, hurtful things I do to others. They often will say, I can't help it, I didn't mean to or don't mean to, I didn't choose to, it just happened. They have a hard time admitting their mistakes and their things that they've done wrong. Here's another thing they think. I always love people more than they ever love me, so they'll always leave me, even if I try to stop them from giving up on me. I hear that a lot from people with BPD. People always leave me. You're going to leave me too. Or don't get close to me because bad things will happen to you. They always do. I'm a bad person. If I'm alone by myself, nobody's around me, I cease to exist. That's an object constancy issue, which we'll talk about a little later. I can only ever feel complete when I find the perfect person who will love me without condition. But when I do find that person, there must be something very wrong with them, because nobody without some kind of mental problem would ever love someone as terrible as I am, as awful as me. Here's another one. I can't handle the feelings I feel when someone refuses to give me what I want or do things my way. So I have to make them go away or punish them in some way, smear them, attack them, lie about them, so I won't feel upset anymore. Because sadness and upsetment physically hurts me. And it's true, they say that people with BPD wear their feelings and emotions like on their skin. Like if you do something they don't like, or they suspect you're going to do something that's going to hurt them, they feel it agonizingly, like extreme pain of rejection and just abandonment, and it's terrible. It's like reliving your childhood abandonment issues. You know, how kids freak out when mom walks out of the room, that kind of thing. BPDs are just basically grown-up babies, the ones that are not treated, that haven't dealt with their issues. That's their actions. And I'm talking about actions, I'm not talking about the people. So don't go to somebody that has BPD and say, well, Dee Dee said you're a baby. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying these actions, the way they come out, you're basically dealing with somebody in a latent childhood baby stage. How they might act. A person with BPD may claim a fake illness or even act out as if they're ill when they're not. They may act inappropriate in public at times. They may manipulate other people through threats, silent treatment, rage, invoking fear, and forming no-win arguments and situations. They may threaten to end or leave a relationship, or threaten to report their partner, threaten to end their own life, all to get their partner to beg them, to plead with them, and ultimately give in. Some borderline people feel bad and ashamed about their actions only after they do them, and have an awareness that they're hurting others. This doesn't mean that they're done hurting you, however, just because they're aware that they did and they say they're sorry. People with borderline want you to assure them and reassure them that you'll still be there for them no matter what ugly thing and mean thing they do, no matter what they say, and until they can believe that you mean it, that you're going to stay, they can't feel better. They can't feel secure. The problem is, if you stay with someone that's untreated borderline, you're the one that's not going to feel better. It's pretty bad. Okay, let's talk about object constancy deficit, and then I will save a little bit for the next video. A borderline person is like a child whose parent got separated from them in the store, or maybe needed to step out of the room to use the restroom or check on their sibling, whatever. They feel terrified as adults when that partner then departs, and they'll often call out like the little child calling for the absent mom or dad. But borderline personality disorder in an adult will look very immature when it's going on. Often they will show clingy behaviors, such as not wanting you to hang up a phone call, or repeatedly asking to make sure that you'll be right back, by saying, you're sure you're coming right back? You won't be gone long, right? I'll see you again really, really soon? This feels like someone's sucking the life out of you to constantly have to reassure them. Yes, I dated somebody with borderline personality disorder, and it was miserable. And I was so glad to end that relationship with the guy. It felt like he was clinging to my leg. Please, please don't go. Please, are you sure? Are you sure this is what you want? It was awful. What is happening in this object constancy deficit moment is that the person with BPD is unable to remember what the hug, the kiss, or the interaction or conversation felt like. That secure feeling, that connected feeling with the person that they're wanting to have in their life. Therefore, the security of that moment when that person leaves has vanished once they're no longer present. This is often why people with BPD want to take pictures with the two of you in it. Or they'll ask you for a picture of yourself. Or maybe they'll ask you for a lock of your hair. Or spray your cologne on something and give it to me. I don't want to forget you. Or they'll want you to send them regular letters just to know that you still exist. And sometimes they'll even say this. They'll say, can we just take a picture so that I won't forget what you look like? Can you please just give me, that thing that you had, that little knick-knack? Because it'll remind me of you. They mean this literally, because when you're not there, people with BPD feel like they don't exist and you don't exist, and there's just nothingness. There's nothingness. They cease to have life and breath and existence and being in and of themselves. Anyway, so that's enough about that part of the borderline personality disorder. Next time I'm going to talk to you about ways that they try to control you. Actual ways they manipulate and control and dominate you and make you feel like you need to have them around when you really don't want them around, and it drives you crazy and that sort of thing. They do definitely call this crazy making and unsafe people. So it definitely is a good idea for you to watch this in case you might have somebody like this in your life, or maybe you have these problems. And if you have these problems and you haven't gotten treatment, I'm begging of you, for the sake of everybody around you and your self-worth, please go get help. You need help. You can't do this on your own. It's not something you can wave a magic wand, snap your fingers, or pray it away. It's just not. It's something that's ingrained in you that you need to have basically deprogrammed out of you and learn the right way to cope in society and the right way to treat people. I hope this was helpful to somebody. Getting back into doing a little bit more facts-based things on my channel, as well as a little bit of spiritual bent, which I'll be working on that soon too, but I promised you a BPD video. Here's your first BPD video, part 1. Stay tuned for the next part of it. I don't know when that will be, because like I said, this research is exhausting. It really bothers your brain after a while to even conceive that people are like this, but they are, and hopefully this will help encourage somebody to go get help. It's not that we hate you, it's that we hate what you do to us, and we hate feeling the way we feel when we make the mistake of pulling you close before you get the help that you need. So everybody have a wonderful day. Be blessed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Shalom.